Hello, good morning from my end, +4 GMT. I started this particular page because I wanted to go through this journey of relocation from home to a new home. And I wanted to share as many lessons as possible with anyone who could be in this journey or who is already in and is trying to figure it out. And I also wanted to learn as much as possible from those of you who have gone through this journey, and even for hear from those who are thinking about it and are looking into this. So it's gonna be a lot of learning from both ends, your end and my end. We're gonna get a chance to hopefully get views from experts who maybe are in the legal field, who will put their hand in it, maybe recruiters who will give you an idea of what it means for them to bring an employee from one country, to relocate an employee from one country to another. And I'm hopefully waiting to see a rich resource that we can all tap into and grow together. So I mentioned that I moved with my family from Kenya to the UAE. So maybe the first question is, how do you get the opportunity? Let me make it clear, it is not I who got the opportunity, but my husband. So maybe the how for me would be get married to the right person. That's on a light note. But yes, this I will just share based on what I've seen in my husband's journey, how he got an opportunity to come to the UAE. And also from those I've also seen coming here that are close to me who've shared their journeys. So the first thing, of course, is to get the opportunity. So there are many ways that you can get the opportunity. There are people who are transferred are relocated by their companies. So you move from one location to a different location and the same company just takes you in and absorbs you. And then there are those who actually go to look for the opportunity and then they get it and then the relocation starts. And then there are those who hop on the plane by faith to the country that they wanted to go in, live and work. And they hop on the plane by faith, and they go in and they look for an opportunity. Some succeed in getting it. Some have to make the decision of whether to stay a little longer and look a little more, or maybe go back home, or maybe try a different location. So as you can see, everyone has a different journey. So it's not gonna be a plug and play. Even if you all get moved and relocated by the same company, it's all gonna be very unique because we are all very unique. And so for my husband, he actually got the opportunity for a relocation by the same employer. He also applied for a job and got he did a direct application and he got it. And after weighing the options, we looked at the different regions that he had gotten. He had actually gotten opportunities in every region apart from Australia, New Zealand. He had gotten opportunities in every region. And so we just looked at what was important for us, what we wanted for our family, because then our son was had not yet turned 1. So we settled for UAE. And also because it's way quicker to get home from UAE. Yeah, it's not such a long flight, especially if you have children. You want it short and sweet, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should limit yourself because of that. Opportunities are where God wants you to be. So that's what happened. So we looked at the different opportunities and we decided to go for the one my husband had applied for. Reason also being that it came in fast as a confirmation, yes, you've gotten it, but also it came also as a confirmation from God that yes, this is what I want for you. Because it being a relocation, and our son by then was not so, it was almost about, I think, 8, going to almost 9-10 months. And I remember at that point, he was around maybe 8 months, actually, 8-9 months. And so we were wondering, how will it be, the relocation, the expenses, and we're looking at the offer on the table. And after further consideration, we let the chance, my husband, we let the chance go. And then it came again in like a month or 2. And we saw this we said that if this comes again and we get it, then we will know this is where God wants us to be. So my husband applied again, and he got it again. In fact, they continued from where they had stopped. And that is how we knew that this was actually what God wanted us to do. The reason why I'm saying this is because sometimes if you go through an opportunity, some which might be very beautiful, some might even look hard, but if you go through an opportunity and you're doing it in your own strength, and you have to like do it in your own strength, you're the one who's driving it, you're the one who's pushing for it, you can literally feel the fight within you. It means you have to like keep this up to the very end. But just having that peace of God, the peace of God does not necessarily mean that you don't put in you don't bring in your best. It just means that through it all, like when things are good or bad, you still have the peace of God to know that this is where He wanted us to be. So that's what happened for us. So we chose to be in Asia, in the Middle East. And so what happens when you start this process? Again, I am sharing my husband's side, but you go through these interviews, you do your research, you make sure this is what you want, because again, you don't want to just move, relocate, and make that huge move to go and do something that is not maybe your expertise, or maybe something that you really didn't want to. But that should not limit you, because again, how stories are very different. There are people who actually move and go to do roles they had never even studied for, and the employer is even willing to take them through school for them to be able to do that, maybe because of their attitude and their willingness to learn. So just get to understand what it is this employer wants, and get to see how both of you can meet each other's needs. And so when it comes to especially thinking about the relocation and the offer on the table, when you get the offer on the table, you make sure you have a very good budget. Do a proper budget. You can research on the internet and find out everything that you need, what the country is like in terms of expenses, in terms of what are your big expenses going to be in terms of education, in terms of housing, in terms of your daily expenses, you living there, everything that you need. What do you need to add on top of just your academics? Do you need to get another driving license? Do you need to go to school for that? What are everything that you need to do? So you can find a lot of this information on the internet, but here is a beautiful part. If you're able to actually reach out to someone who is already there, who can give you their experience because they are on the ground. Sometimes the internet, yes, has information, but if you have someone who's currently living in the country that you're looking into, and they can give you a lot of this information and give you a lot of the things that you probably might not be able to find on the internet, it will be even more rich. It will be richer for you in terms of your research. So just understand that, so that when you're just getting the contract, you don't just get yourself into a contract and then when you enter there, you've moved your family, then you realize, oh, they've given me 10 and I need 20 for us to be able to just have a decent life. So those are some of the things that were playing in our minds as we were thinking about the move. And then you remember I said our son was about when we were almost about to move, our son was about 8-9 months. He was headed to his first year. So we were really not thinking much about education, I mean schooling, because you're just thinking about just moving what you need. But you might want to factor that in depending on the countries you're going into. Some countries you probably I don't know whether any one of you has relocated to a country that gives free education. I don't know whether some of you have relocated to countries where medical covers are free, medical services are offered for free. I don't know what countries you've relocated into, but now when you come to the UAE, the school fees will be a big one. The housing and accommodation will be a big one, depending on also how you play it. Those will be your huge expenses. And it's a tax-free country in terms of your salary. So if the employer says they're going to give you 10, they're going to give you 10. And the currency of trading in the UAE is a dirham, AED or dirham. So that is one of the things, those are some of the things that you will really need to think about and look at and research about before you sign your contract, before you think about who you're going to move, before you think about when your children are in school. Maybe some of you already have children who are in school, so you will need to move your children to a new school. Are the terms synced, and are you moving them at a time when it's comfortable? If any one of you has relocated children who are already in school, you might want to share with us how that was like for you to just move them. How did the children settle? How did they adapt? But just going back to just planning your move before you sign your contract, there are employers who actually give you a relocation package or allowance. The employers who ship you from your home country, put everything in a container, and they take you to the new country where they want you to work. They move everything you need and they put for you. They ship everything in for you. In our case, the option we were given was to come in and be given a 1 month accommodation. And then we'd use the 1 month to have our visas processed and our residencies processed. And then that would start out the process of looking for a house. So depending on the employers, that was what we got. So some will relocate you, and some will probably just bring you in, will tell you to first get here, and then from here we will be able to start the process for you. And then, so yeah. You can also, depending on how huge the expenditure needs to be when you relocate, you can have these conversations with the employer so that they can put in an amount for you and then maybe deduct it from the salary, more like an advance for you, because sometimes the expenses that you might need to incur for you maybe to get into housing or school might be huge. So you might get an arrangement where the employer can give you maybe the cash check and then deduct it from your account, depending on the employers. Some employers will bring you on board, will give you all the school fees and all the accommodation, they will pay for it, so you don't really need to think about it so much. So those are some of the things that you might look into, talk about, ask around, talk with the current, the potential employer, so that you understand what they give and how that affects you, how that will affect you once you relocate. And then once the job interview process is over and you have the offer, being in a different country, my husband first had to do medical examination. So it's done, and it's done through medical service providers who are approved by the UAE. There are specific service providers that are approved. So you do that, and so live healthy. Live healthy. Actually, some of the opportunities people get are lost because of health. Live healthy. Some things that might be within your control, some things might not be within your control. So live healthy, live a healthy life. And we leave the rest to God to take care of us. And then this other one is a biggie. If you're a lawyer and you're listening, maybe you can advise us on this one. I would suggest that if you ever want to relocate, if you have that in your heart, I would suggest that you attest all your documents. Attest all your documents and just get ready so that whenever the opportunity comes along, you can just board. Maybe to be faster, then you don't need to go running around when your time is limited. And maybe for the lawyer who's listening, is an attestation limited? Is it forever, once attested, always attested? Are there countries that have a specific requirement when it comes to attestation? For the UAE, we did attest with our government, and then they have their consulate in Kenya. So the consulate also attested. And for this, we got a lawyer to do all the documentation for us. And maybe we are wondering, what is to attest? In layman language, it's to just get your documents verified by the government of Kenya and the government of the country where you're moving into, to show that they are actually true documents. They are real, they are not forged. And then this is what the employer will use to process the rest of the processes that are needed on the other side, maybe for employment labor contracts, maybe for your residency, visas, and all that. And so maybe you're wondering, so what do I attest? Everything, every single documentation that shows your academic qualifications. Then attest your marriage certificate if you're married. Some countries are very strict. So maybe if your marriage is, we are here to stay and there is no proof of any documentation, you might start thinking about, if we are married, let's go get ourselves a marriage certificate. Let it be proof that we are actually married. And then attest your birth certificates and your children's birth certificates. What else? Yeah, you need to attest that all your documents. I think when you put your documents together, a lawyer in the house would be best to advise. I think because they will put all the documents together, attest, and then they will just give one document to show that everything else is attested. That way you're ready. Once you have an opportunity, you already have your documents attested. So you will just provide them. Yeah. I think that is it for now. So just to get your documents ready, keep your health. Actually, it's very important how how we live, because not just for the employment, but you realize it after you've changed locations, how the air affects people differently. So you just want to be able to withstand different environments, different foods, different air, different temperatures, different climates. So I'll end this one here. Let me know if you have a question. And also, if you'd also want to add a little more on what I've said, not a little more, if you want to add a lot on what I've said, what I've shared, please feel free. If you also are a lawyer and you want to let us know more about attestation, we will be grateful. If you're a doctor and you're probably involved in this process of medical examination for especially people who want to relocate and they've gotten employment opportunities outside their home countries or the countries where they are in, please also let us know what do you look out for and what we should also watch out for. And also, I think this should have been the first point. It's always, sometimes we assume everyone has a passport until when we want to travel. Please get a passport before you are under pressure to get one. And keep your passport well. Do not leave it for the children to put makeup on it. Keep it well, keep it safe. It's a legal travel document, and if it's altered even on one point, it is not used. It's not usable. So get your passport, check that it's valid, and especially that you have more than 6 months validity. So check your expiry date. Some people have applied for passports, but I've never checked when it will expire. So there's a lot of statements you'll start seeing whenever you're maybe applying for visas or anything. It says make sure your passport is it's valid for more than 6 months. So it has more than 6 months on it before expiry. So check your passports, make sure they're intact and no one is drawing on them. Don't put them where they'll get moldy or where children will color them and make them cute, so that you don't start the process and then you realize, what happened? So thank you so much for always plugging in. And it's like there's so much. So we'll take it as it goes. Yes. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I look forward to seeing your comments and your questions. And I look forward to hearing what the experts have to say, especially if you're probably working in these government offices that do attestation or give passports or, yes, attestation, passports, yes. We would love to hear from you. We would love you to help us get more prepared and better prepared to be able to handle relocation processes even better and more smoothly. Thank you.